Good morning, everyone. Here's your Mormon news update for September 20th, 2024. First, we will go to Washington State, where the city of Camas has determined that a road realignment proposal related to the planned Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Temple in Camas, which would realign Southeast Bybee Road, has a mitigated determination of non-significance when it comes to environmental concerns. The report does note the presence of songbirds and deer that have been observed on or near the site, and said the site is located within what is commonly referred to as the Pacific Flyway, the general migratory route for various species of ducks, geese, and other migratory waterfowl, which stretches from Alaska to Mexico and from the Pacific Ocean to the Rocky Mountains. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS, commonly referred to as the Mormon Church, has announced plans to build its 6th Washington State Temple on a 15-acre site near the intersection of Southeast Bybee Road and Southeast 20th Street in Camas. Plans call for a multi-story temple of approximately 43,000 square feet. According to Clark County property documents, the LDS Church, headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah, purchased several parcels of land near the intersection of Southeast Bybee Road and Northwest 38th Avenue Southeast 20th Street in West Camas for $8.25 million in May of 2023. The planned Camas temple drew criticism from at least one community member in early 2024. Enoch Sy told Camas City Council members on March 4th that he opposed building a temple on that particular piece of land. For 16 years, Sy said, he and his family have upheld a tradition every evening walking down Bybee up 38th and among the trees on that site. I feel like to tear down that corner for a temple does not resonate with the needs of the community, Sy told Camas officials. Sy said the proposed temple site is home to deer and other wildlife and bordered by protected land and wetland buffers. The city has set 3 conditions on the proposed road realignment, including a condition that the applicant addresses localized flooding on Southeast Bybee Road and provide the city with stormwater plans to minimize the localized flooding at the culvert crossing under Southeast Bybee Road. A condition that the applicant provide a set of civil engineering improvement plans to the city that include tree removal and retention, grading plans, erosion and control plans, utility plans for water and sewer systems, and a condition that the applicant must revise and resubmit a final stormwater report prepared in accordance with the Washington State Department of Ecology's latest 2024 Stormwater Maintenance Manual for Western Washington for review and approval prior to the final engineering plan approval. Comments on the city's SEPA determination are due by 5 p.m. Thursday, September 26th. The city will not act on the proposal until the end of its 14-day comment period. Comments may be emailed to communitydevelopment@cityofcamas.us. Now we will go to Reddit to look at a visual representation of the decline in the number of LDS adherents from 2010 to 2020 in Utah. The caption under the map included this info. Utah's 5 most populated counties all show downturns in the percentage of residents whom the church considers adherents in the past decade. In Salt Lake County or Summit County, that decrease has been part of a longer, decades-long trend. In Utah County, that dip is more recent. For the surveys conducted from 1980 to the year 2000, the LDS Corporation did not report members with no local ward affiliation. But for 2010 and 2020, the LDS Corporation changed to reporting all baptized members. Even with the attempt at propping up the top-line numbers, the trend line is decline. In 17 of Utah's 29 counties, there's been a decrease in even the reported absolute number of Latter-day Saints between 2010 and 2020. Meanwhile, in 27 counties, the non-Latter-day Saint population has grown. Next to Arizona, where Vice President Kamala Harris is stepping up her efforts to win over voters who belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, enlisting prominent members of the faith to make the case in pivotal Arizona that Donald Trump does not align with the church's values. Her state campaign announced on Thursday an advisory committee to formalize the outreach to current and former members of the church, widely known as the Mormon Church. With nearly 450,000 church members in Arizona, about 6% of the state's population, Latter-day Saints and former church members could prove critical in what will likely be an extremely close race. Latter-day Saints have traditionally voted Republican and are likely to remain part of the GOP coalition. Clustered in solidly Republican states, they have long been a major force in GOP primaries and local politics across the West, but they have not held much sway in national elections. In 2020, about 7 in 10 Mormon voters nationally supported Trump, according to AP VoteCast, while about 1/4 backed Democrat Joe Biden. Core to Harris's strategy is preventing Trump from running up big margins with demographic groups that favor him. While she's unlikely to win anything close to a majority of Latter-day Saints, picking up a small share of their votes would make a big difference in a state with a recent history of tight elections. Biden won by just under 10,500 votes in 2020. Latter-day Saints supporting Harris in Arizona make a faith-based appeal for backing the Democratic ticket despite any reservations, pointing to church teaching that the U.S. Constitution is divinely inspired. The Constitution is a tenet of our faith, and we certainly shouldn't be voting for people who have shown a disdain for it, said Joel John, a former Republican state lawmaker who will serve as a co-chair of the committee, and we certainly shouldn't be supporting someone who tried to overthrow it on January 6th. While many conservative-leaning religious voters warmed to him long ago, Trump has struggled to win over Latter-day Saints. For many members of the church, Trump's penchant for foul language and demeaning rhetoric toward women and people of color clashes with the church's values of humility, morality, and compassion. It has not helped that Trump has feuded with U.S. Senator Mitt Romney, a Republican from Utah, among the best-known members of the church, and former U.S. Senator Jeff Flake, a Republican from Arizona. In Arizona, Latter-day Saints make up an outsized share of the population in Metro Phoenix's East Valley, a suburban area where ticket-splitting voters have rejected Trump-backed Republicans, helping to push a reliable GOP state into a battleground. Mesa, Arizona's third-largest city with more than 500,000 people, traces its modern history to a settlement founded by pioneers from the Mormon faith in the 1800s. Mormons have been shown to have this attitude that they aren't just voting based on party affiliation only, said Romanello, who was raised in the church but is no longer practicing. They're voting based on morals. And now we will go to this detailed and informative graphic. It says the church's ongoing synonymizing of words in the Mormon lexicon. Obedience equals faithfully following what the brethren tell us to do without hesitation, question, objection, or complaint. And then they cite 1835 Joseph Smith. Then they say agency equals faithfully following what the brethren tell us to do without hesitation, question, objection, or complaint. And cite 2023 Elder David A. Bednar, Quorum of the 12. Then they say integrity equal faithfully following what the brethren tell us to do without hesitation, question, objection, or complaint. And then cite 2024 Elder J. N. Gerard, General Authority 70. Obedience equals agency equals integrity, used in a sentence. Dan displayed obedience by honoring his covenants and serving a mission as directed by the prophet, despite opposition by some apostates in his family. The next sentence, Dan displayed agency by honoring his covenants and serving a mission as directed by the prophet, despite opposition by some apostates in his family. And the last sentence, Dan displayed integrity by honoring his covenants and serving a mission as directed by the prophet, despite opposition by some apostates in his family. The church makes life so easy when everything means to follow the brethren without hesitation, question, objection, or complaint. And last up today, we will go to KSL.com for a story sponsored by Plain and Precious Publishing. Have you ever considered the Book of Mormon as a temple book? The Book of Mormon has been studied for its language, its doctrine, its history and genealogy, its geography, and many other aspects. All these studies add dimension and perspective to our knowledge of the Book of Mormon. Now there's a new book that paints a totally fresh perspective on the ancient scripture, and it's likely to pique many people's curiosity. The book is called In the Language of Adam by author D. John Butler, a lifelong member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and prolific author. In the book, Butler argues the Book of Mormon was written by temple worshippers and for temple worshippers. He says that Nephi puts us on notice in his very first sentence that he is a temple man and the Book of Mormon is a temple book. Butler argues that Nephi and other prophets in the book were visionary men and devout followers of Christ who practiced sacred ceremonies in the temple by means of which they entered into the presence of God. The Nephite prophets used the sights, experiences, furniture, architecture, sounds, and even tastes of their temple experience to inform their writing. He explains that the purpose of In the Language of Adam is to help readers understand and perceive the truths that these ancient visionaries were teaching. So far, In the Language of Adam has received nothing but 5-star reviews on Amazon from its readers. One reviewer wrote, "If I could give this book 10 stars out of 5, I would. It's incredible how all of these things are right before us, but I've never seen them before. I highly recommend sharing this book for anyone you know and love that wants to find Jesus Christ and his ancient religion in the Book of Mormon." I agree with this reviewer. It is incredible how all of these things have been before us, but they've never been seen before, especially with a church that claims to have prophets who talk directly to God. You'd think that if God wanted this information out there, he would have given it plainly and preciously to his prophets a long time ago. Another reviewer wrote, "Ultimately, In the Language of Adam is about what has been lost and how we can find it again if we look carefully, not just at the language of words, but of symbols, images, and implications. I recommend it for all students of hermeneutics and religion who want a fresh perspective on Christianity and its ancient roots." Other words people used were life-changing, a must-buy, and eye-opening. If you're looking for additional Book of Mormon study helps and resources, you may want to add this to your list. The Stick of Joseph is a YouTube channel that's striving to create a Netflix-quality docuseries about the historical and archaeological evidence of the Book of Mormon. That might be kind of tough considering there really isn't any. Brothers Hayden and Jackson Paul host the channel and launched Plain and Precious Publishing earlier this year, with In the Language of Adam being the venture's first book. The brothers recently interviewed Butler on their channel, and the author further explored his idea that the Book of Mormon is a book written by temple visionaries and full of teachings and images and power of the temple. And that's your update for today, folks. I absolutely hope you have the day and the weekend that you deserve.